Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. As you know, human design has many layers to it. We can look at our charts in terms of the centers. We can look at the charts in terms of the life force, the channels, the gates, the profile, and then you come to definition, where there are different types of configuration within one's chart. So, for example, in my case, I'm a single definition. Every center that I have is joined up to every other center that I have fixed. It's regarded as a self-reliant kind of definition. And there are split definitions where there are two sides to us, triple split definitions where there are three sides to us, and even in rare cases, quadruple splits where there are four sides to us. So these are the layers, and bearing that in mind, and in view of recent events, I think about my viewers. I really do. And I think about, I wonder how they're getting on. I wonder how they're getting on with all the changes that are happening. I spent weeks trying to have my domain name email authorized, because I had to learn a whole lot of new things in order to get that done. New technology that I was not aware of and not particularly interested in. And I wonder how everyone else is coping with this. Recently, I got an alert saying you have a few days to get into multi-factor authorization, or we're going to take your website down. What? So I look into it and I go, well, what is this? Oh, I need a separate app, because in the old days, a password would do. And then lots of passwords were needed. So I get an app to have all kinds of passwords on there. Now, passwords are no good. You have to have an app to put in numbers that are generated randomly whenever you want to log on. So I look at that and I go, okay, well, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. And suddenly it's like, oh no, that's no good anymore. You need a key as well. You need a USB kind of key in order to be compliant, and not only compliant, advanced compliance, as we get squeezed into having to do certain things in order to keep the life, the business, whatever going. So I go, okay, well, what is it? What is a key? I can get a key. I can do that. I look at it and it's like, oh no, there's not just one key. We've got the 5 series. We've got the 5 series FIPS series. We've got the Bio series. We've got the 5 CPSN series. Or you could go for the HSM2 series, or you could go for the HSM2 series FIPS series. So it's suddenly like, where am I? What's going on? I have to go into the technology and twist my brain into understanding all these different things just to know what is correct for me. So I go, okay, well, this is all extremely confusing. So I'll better have a look at a video on their site, see what that is. And there's a very loud, upbeat music playing with all these flashing images of different things. And it doesn't make any sense. It's just saying, welcome, join us, subscribe to us. I go, I don't want to subscribe to you, and then it goes on. At the end of the video, I am not informed on anything I need to know. And they have the audacity to put as the byline, keep flexible. Keep flexible? I was flexible when we had passwords. This is the opposite of being flexible. So after that little rant, I won't go on because the complications continued. And I think about my design. I think, well, look, I can struggle through things. I can commit to the journey no matter where it's going. I have the ability to focus. I regard myself as being fairly intelligent. And I'm a single definition. Everything is joined up. But what must it be like, I think, to be a triple split? So a triple split has 3 sides to them. I think it's about 11% of people in the world are triple splits. And there's three things going on all at the same time. So they've got the head going and thinking in its way, as an example, if they have a fixed head and ajna. And that's thinking and thinking and thinking, gazing off into space while they're thinking in the way that they think. And then there's a shift to suddenly the emotional feeling. And then it's the emotions, what they're feeling, where they are in that emotional wave, what pleasure or pain they're experiencing. And then it flips again to actually doing something with the sacral and the G center, where they can use that energy for whatever. But none of them are connected. And I'm thinking, all the stuff I've just had to try and learn in the technical side just to keep going, how on earth do they do it? Because it's not easy. It's not easy for someone like me. So how could they possibly cope? They get into the thinking and suddenly they've got all this menu of hundreds of different companies to choose from to get the credentials to be authenticated. So I was saying, what happens with a triple split if they were in my position? It's like, okay, we've got to do this. And suddenly you've got, I don't know, hundreds of companies all offering different things, and they put you into their company corporate way of thinking and the buzzwords and the keywords that you've got to look up and try and understand from a non-technical background. So a triple split could perhaps do that if they have the channel of logic. It would be very useful for them. But still, there are lots of ways of working it out. But then they'll shift to the emotional side, where it's like, what's going on? I don't like this. I can't, I feel confused, even more confused, and it's not like anything's really going to be done from that side or from the head side. The only thing where things can get done is from the sacral side, if they respond to going ahead. And I honestly don't think that anyone is going to respond to being, oh, this is a good idea. I want to spend days and hours and weeks of my time learning some sort of corporate lingo in order to be authenticated, in order to have a identity that is linked to this particular operation in your life. So a crypto identity, a banking identity, an accounting identity, all of them with differences, all of them with different ways in, all of them saying, yes, you have to comply in this way. How do they cope? I don't know. If you're a triple split, am I wrong? I mean, I know that triple splits can really be very good at what they do when they've been doing it long enough. It takes them time to connect all the information that they're receiving from these three different sides in order to connect, in order to feel more integrated, to be aware of what they need to do. Putting all the three sides together over time, which is why we suggest that triple splits walk through the aura of people to feel more joined up, to connect the sides in them together. But with something like this, with the way the world is becoming more and more highly technical, and everybody has to comply if they want to be part of such a society, while at the same time the governments are having their databases hacked all the time. It's like, well, does it really work? And what is this piece of hardware from a third-party company that I've never heard of? Is this safe? I mean, can you trust that? What can you trust? And how can we keep going? How do you keep going as a manifester when you're an emotional manifester? I mean, just raging all the time, I would imagine, having to deal with this and that and going, I don't want to. When I think about the second lines, most second lines are not really interested in technical things. Some are, and some are brilliant at it, and some are called to it. But the vast majority that I meet really can't be bothered. So they're not going to be part of this new multi-compliance straitjacket system that's coming on top of all of us. And so I wonder, how do people cope, knowing as I do all the different sides of a human being and all the complexities within the human being, how does this natural form, this natural design work in a world where we are pushed into these rows that we have to comply with in order to live, in order to survive? I mean, for myself, I plod on and break through. Eventually, I have no doubt that I will master whatever it is I have to master, whether I like it or not, whether I respond or not. One has to go against one's own natural response mechanism because of the deadlines that someone else sets, because of the tracks that corporations want us to be on, that we have to be on, we're told, which makes it all rather difficult to be open and free and be natural in the way that human design points us to. So where does it all lead to? It means that the manifesting generators like myself, will get angry and frustrated in having to do something they really don't respond to do. And it's highly complicated. It's not an easy thing. It means that the projectors are not going to feel invited to want to play a part of something as complicated as we're having to live through. And reflectors, honestly, I can't imagine them, many of them, being able to work their way through the complexities. They would have to delegate. It looks to me like businesses need to bring on technical people just to handle all this, because it's really becoming less and less accessible for people who are not specialized in the security industry, because it's a whole industry. It seems to me like we're all being split into different identities and different ways of having to think, whether we like it or not. A great deal of freedom is being lost, it seems to me, in that our time is taken by these things that come from the outside. And for those of you who are not a single definition, for those of you who are split, and especially the triple splits, because I can't imagine how a triple split who is not technical would be able to cope with this without help. I mean, we can ask for help if you can get someone on the end of a phone, of course, who will answer you, which is becoming more and more difficult as well. So it's not like I have an answer. I have a question, which I'm putting out to you, the viewers. Are you finding it difficult? Are you finding it more and more complex? Or is it just in the business that I'm in? And if you are, how are you getting through it? I genuinely would like to know. I only know one way, and that's to plod on a step at a time when I meet obstacles and don't give up. That's my way. But not everyone's like me, and I'm aware of that. And I honestly don't know how people get through it. So if you have any feedback for me, I would like to hear it. And maybe we can help each other from our different experiences, from our different natures, to help others. If so, any useful hints or tips would be good. And to come back to the theme here, the theme is the triple split and how complex it is to live that design already split apart without being split apart into multiple shards and pieces by the technocrats. It's not easy. And I want you to know that, for those of you who are out there and you're living your life, think about those people who have three sides to them. If you know any quadruple splits, 0.56% of the population have four sides to them. How do they get through this? Now, I did work with one, and he was pretty brilliant in lots of areas, so maybe it's easier. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the triple splits are actually finding the shattering on the outside something that they've come into their own. Perhaps they can maybe handle it in a way that single definitions are finding it more difficult. I don't know. For myself, and we each have to come to our own answer, our own way of moving forward in this more and more complicated world. My answer is to balance it with simple things, to balance it by being in the garden, going out into the fresh air, reading a good book. There's a way to keep in balance, but it's becoming more difficult. So we have to not give up and find our own way. And personally, I will not be subscribing to these technical services for more great content. No, I don't want to think about them. I don't want to put my head into that vice. Thank you very much. I will do the minimum necessary in order to proceed. And that's the other answer, not to get sucked into the fear of everything, the fear that you're going to be hacked, the fear of this, the fear of that. It's all becoming too fear-based. And we have to find within ourselves a place that is not fear-based, that is not drawn into that, where we can live our own lives according to our nature as much as possible. And when it comes to things like I'm talking about, it isn't really going to be possible to operate naturally, because the answer will be no all the time. So one has to move into the resistance for as little time as possible in order to get through it, and then to come back. I think that's probably the best way. The way I can see is by going in and bouncing back, not partaking that particular food for very long, not filling my mind with that stuff for very long. Because at the end of the day, the life is to be lived and the life is to be enjoyed. So don't let it get you down. I do my best not to let it get me down. I plow on through. I encourage you to do the same in your own ways, knowing that it will take longer for some, knowing that some will just not comply and choose to live an alternative way. And good for you. There are other ways to live. And maybe that's part of what's going on. Maybe we find new ways to live that is more simple, that is more natural, that is more wholesome, that is more nourishing. That would be wonderful. And I do see signs of that. I'm quite positive in my future outlook, despite what's going on, because I can see people are breaking free of it. They are finding a way outside the technocratic, bureaucratic constraints that are coming in. So I wish you all well with the growing complexities and finding your way through it all. And if you like this video, please subscribe and share and like, and I will be back again very soon with something completely different. Bye-bye for now.